Welcome to the 209 Headlines Podcast. I'm Frankie Tovar.
I'm Angelina Martin.
It's time for news for the Central Valley. The date is April 20th, 2018, and it's another week that we're here in studio, and I know Angelina is very excited, just as excited as I am. It's been a long week. Man, what did we do this past week, Angelina? I'm trying to think. We did so much.
We went to Coachella.
Oh, that's what it was.
How
Coachella.
could you forget?
I think it's melted my brain, and I just forgot the rest of the week.
Yeah, we want to be clear. Coachella at UC Merced.
Not Coachella.
Not Coachella.
Yeah, had we gone to Coachella, my brain might be melted in a different way.
I was about to say our brains were melted from fun. At Coachella.
We got to interview some student performers.
Yeah.
Revel. DJ Infamous.
Revel was cool.
Yeah, so go check out that episode, studio209.tv. It's Coachella 2018. You get to see Angelina's face. You don't get to see my face, but you see my handy camera work, and that was a lot of fun. What else did we do this past weekend? I finished my binge watching of the Marvel movies because I'm ready for Infinity War. So I feel like kind of a loser admitting that right now to everybody, but I did indeed watch every single Marvel movie ever released, except for the Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton. Excuse me. That's just not a very good movie, so I skipped that one.
Wow. No love for the Hulk. I went to brunch on Sunday. That was the most exciting thing about my weekend. Yeah.
Oh, Pizza Rev. How about that? Lunch.
And yeah, Pizza Rev.
I went to Pizza Rev twice this week already.
New pizza place in Turlock. If you guys haven't heard of it, it's basically Chipotle or Subway, but with pizzas. You go through the line and they make your pizza with whatever you want on it.
Yes.
It was awesome.
It was very good. Brand new in Turlock. That takes us to our next headline. Another brand new thing in Oakdale that actually had a brand new event in it, right?
Is it our next headline or our first headline?
Well, it's next and first, so I think we're both correct.
Yeah. So in Oakdale, if you're familiar, they have a new park that has a really cool amphitheater, but it hasn't been used yet. That's all going to change. Oakdale Community Park hosts first music festival. This was written by Teresa Hammond of the Oakdale Leader. The amphitheater at Oakdale Community Park will soon be filled with music thanks to some local churches who have banded together to host an Oakdale Christian Music Festival. The first event of its kind in the city will be free to the community and will take place next Saturday, April 28th. The event is set to begin at 5 p.m. with live music beginning at 6, and attendees are encouraged to bring blankets and chairs. According to organizers, there will be a total of 6 musicians who will play 20 songs, adding up to about 3 hours of tunes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's going to be a long concert, but that's kind of nice.
Who needs Spotify, right?
Yeah, exactly. Oakdale Christian Academy is the sponsor of this first-time event and can be contacted for more information.
And, of course, you can see or read more of that article at oakdaleleader.com. I wonder what kind of musical acts they're going to bring to the community park.
In the future?
Well, just this year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a great space.
Some jazz, some soft rock, some folk.
Hey, maybe...
I doubt rap.
Oh, I was going to say maybe you could go rap at the amphitheater.
Oh, man, I'm keeping my rap skills with a Z close to the chest. I'm still waiting for that sneak debut album to come out, so we'll see. I'm putting together a SoundCloud profile for my mixtape.
Wow. Okay, we're learning a lot today.
I just watched Black Panther. That's a callback joke for all those who've watched Black Panther, but... You got it. Ha ha.
A little slow.
Our next headline also involves Oakdale. It also involves Teresa Hammond because she wrote it, and it also involves music. A mother-daughter duo is preparing for the Gallo stage. That's right. An Oakdale High sophomore and her mother are currently preparing for a truly unique experience that is set to take place later this month at the Gallo Center for the Arts in Modesto. Darby Schmidt and her mother, Amelia, will be stepping onto the Rogers Theater stage on both April 27th and April 29th of this year as chorus members in the Townsend opera production of Madame Butterfly. Angie, I know you sing a lot of Fergalicious. Do you think you could do opera?
I actually can do opera.
Really?
Yeah, probably better than anything I sing.
Better than anything you sing?
Mm-hmm.
Well, these two, this mother-daughter combo can sing opera pretty well, considering that they just kind of started preparing for it. Since learning that they would be part of the production in February, the Schmidts have been busy with weekly rehearsals, which includes singing and choreography. How cool is that? A pair of locals on stage performing with a cast of regional, national, and international performers. So go make sure you read the full article at oakdaleleader.com to find out more about the Schmidts, their inspiration to do this, and the times of the performances on the 27th and the 29th of April.
That is so cool. And it just goes to show, if you want to do something, just do it. I mean, who would have thought that a mom and daughter duo would be singing opera on the Gallo stage? Pretty cool.
Most teenage daughters don't want to do much with their mothers, let alone perform on stage in front of many, many people. So all you theater heads out there, go check out that performance on the 27th and the 29th.
Yeah, speaking of performing on a stage, candidates that are running for Congress, they kind of did that last night. No, 2 nights ago.
About political candidates?
Political candidates.
Ooh, the best performers of them all.
Yeah. So on Wednesday night, the 6 candidates hoping to replace... Oh, by the way, this article was written by me, and it's from the Turlock Journal. So yeah, the 6 candidates hoping to replace Congressman Jeff Denham participated in a Q&A forum, answering voter questions about water, immigration, gun control, and more. Those candidates being Mike Barkley, Michael Eggman, Josh Harder, Ted Howes, Virginia Madueno, and Sue Zwalin. Jeff Denham was unable to be there because Congress is in session.
I was about to ask that. No, Jeff Denham? Like, where's he at?
Yeah. A lot of people, this is just my personal opinion. Someone you can email if I'm wrong, but a lot of people like to pull it's not important to Jeff Denham, so he doesn't show up. Guys, Congress is in session. He is a congressman. He has to be in D.C. I know it's Water Week, and he had a lot of local legislators from the Central Valley actually in DC this week, and he was kind of showing them around. So I just want to throw that out there because got to get both sides out there. So we've had a couple of candidates on this podcast. We've had Democrat Josh Harder and Republican Ted Howes.
Yeah, and if you haven't listened to those podcasts, please check them out. They're in the SoundCloud profile, the iTunes profile, and we'll have links to YouTube if you're watching this or listening to this on YouTube.
Right. So Ted Howes is the only Republican running against Denham. And what I've noticed with the other 5 candidates who are all Democrats, it seems like in past debates, before Wednesday night's debate, they all seem to basically, it was boring to go to because they agree on every issue. It's like, yes, we want immigration reform. Yes, we want dreamers to be citizens. Yes, we want gun control. They all agree because they're all left-leaning. But this candidate forum on Wednesday night was the first time that we actually saw them kind of give differing opinions. And some examples of that is Virginia Madueno. She was the only one to criticize the Endangered Species Act because of its effect on farmers. That's the act that, wants to protect the salmon and the rivers, and the federal government wants to take all the valley's water to help protect these fish. So that wasn't the typical stance you see Democrats take. And then Mike Barkley is actually the only candidate who believes the Second Amendment should be repealed. So those were a couple of examples of them kind of breaking free.
Repeal?
Yeah, he wants an outright gun ban, like Australia status.
Mike Barkley, huh?
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to do well in this election.
Yeah. We'll see. You never know.
You never know.
Yeah. Wednesday was also Ted Howes' first debate. Like I said, he's the only Republican, but he entered the race a little late. That was his first debate with the rest of his Democratic candidates, so it was kind of nice to see that differing opinion in there as well. And I just wanted to run over, each person said their top legislative priority during this debate. So I just wanted to say what each person's priority was if they were to be elected. So Virginia Madueno said immigration reform. Mike Barkley said he would repeal the GOP tax bill. Michael Eggman said healthcare reform. Josh Harder said he would work to bring better paying jobs to the area. Ted Howes would like to see a restructuring of what he called entitlements, like Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. And Sue Zwalin would like to see healthcare reform as well. So I think I condensed that 2-hour debate last night into a good 3-minute summary.
Yeah, the article. Where can people find that article?
Oh, yeah. Turlockjournal.com or in the print edition of the Turlock Journal. You know what it is.
Absolutely. So you have the top priorities for these candidates. Of those issues, which speak to you as a voter the most?
Ooh.
Because clearly all of these issues are important. But if you had to choose one that kind of sits atop the priority list for you, could you choose one?
Healthcare reform.
Healthcare reform?
Yeah.
That's up there for me as well. Although immigration reform
and
that's very important.
The GOP tax bill.
It's all important, man.
It's
all this stuff, affects us as California citizens in the 10th district, and so we'll see how this election kind of plays out. And 209 Headlines will be there to cover it. We have plans to bring more candidates in to do long-form interviews. And again, I mentioned it last time. I'll mention it again. The big kahuna is to get Jeff Denham in here. I really want to hear what he has to say and get an opportunity to interview him.
Yeah, it's always fun talking
in a
with
different
Jeff.
setting.
Yeah, he would be great to have on the podcast.
Now it's time to switch to a different content block. We go from politicians to crooks. Sometimes they're one and the same, but not on this episode of the 2-9 headlines. The first up, we got a cable TV worker arrested for DUI hit and run in series. So you know this was written by Jeff Benziger. A Charter Spectrum cable TV employee was arrested Tuesday afternoon after he allegedly ran into a parked car while drunk and fled the scene. That probably should have read ex-employee at this point. I don't think he's employed anymore. Anyway, police were called at 1:15 p.m. about a hit-and-run crash at 3329 Pearsburg Lane in Ceres, where witnesses saw a white Charter Spectrum truck hit a parked Toyota Camry before driving off. The truck was located 0.2 of a mile away from the collision. It's not very far, right?
Wait.
0.2
Why
of
are
a
they
mile.
describing it as 0.2 of a mile? Like, that's so random. Like, why not like a couple blocks away?
I imagine the police officers out there with like a measuring tape.
Yeah, like, oh, it's 0.2,
We need
guys.
the exact measurement. Anyway, they found the truck. And then they found the driver, 39-year-old Nelson Moreno. He was located near the truck, and he was arrested after a field sobriety test revealed he was over twice the legal limit. And a nearly empty bottle of New Amsterdam brand vodka was found inside of the truck. Hey, I guess he has a little bit better taste than Bacardi, right?
I was about to say good, like, decent taste.
Yeah, I believe they also found some vodka in a coffee mug, so it must have been where he was pouring the vodka into. Needless to say,
People are
he was
crazy.
arrested and probably fired as well. You can read more about the circumstances of the arrest and what else was found inside of the charter truck at SeriesCourier.com. And actually, there were a plethora of crime stories on SeriesCourier.com that we couldn't cover today because of time constraints. So once you check out that story, you can check out the rest. It'll probably fill your afternoon.
I just want to ask something. Are Charter and Spectrum cable TV the same thing?
Yes, it's
Okay.
Charter Spectrum.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, well, that's a crazy car story. I have another crazy car story, but this one's a little sadder. 2 were arrested for running over a man in Turlock over the weekend. The story's by Sabra Stafford of the Turlock Journal. Modesto resident Jack Keener, age 56, was run over by a car early Sunday, that's April 15th, in Turlock near South 1st and D Streets. 2 men were arrested in the crime, 18-year-old Jose Alonso Gutierrez Jr., who was booked on suspicion of murder, and 19-year-old Bailey Martin Sanchez, who was booked on suspicion of being an accessory to murder and carjacking. They both have bails of over $2 million, and their arraignment in court was continued until April 30th. Now, there aren't a lot of details out about this case yet. It is suspected to be gang-related. That's what I've heard through the grapevine. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say that, but that's what I've heard. So they don't want to release all the info on this yet, I don't think.
I'm sure Sabre will provide us with an update in the print edition and online editions of the Turlock Journal when they come out. But when I hear you talk about the story, all I see is the ages of the suspects, 18 and 19. Man, that's just, it's even though they're the perpetrators of this crime and they essentially killed somebody, I still feel empathy for them because they're young and their lives are probably close to over. I mean, in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, it's funny. Well, it's not funny, but it's interesting you say that because when I saw the age of the victim, it made me sad. I don't know the circumstances around it or anything. All
Like
I
a grandpa
know
or
is there's
something?
like an older, I'm not going to say like old because 56 isn't that old, but an older man walking.
I'll say
doing
it.
whatever.
56 is old because I'm about to turn 30 and I feel old.
No,
I can't
no.
imagine being 56.
All right, well, older than middle-aged old man just walking out there and just gets hit and unfortunately dies.
Well, you're not going to like the next headline very much. A Manteca man was shot interrupting a car thief. This was written by Glenn Call, and
he's
that man was 57, basically
Oh.
the same age. So a 57-year-old man is in critical condition after he was shot by a thief who was trying to steal his car. This all happened shortly after 10 p.m. on Wednesday in the 1400 block of Primavera Avenue in northwest Manteca. When police arrived, they found the man on the ground near his driveway. He was conscious and bleeding with 2 gunshot wounds. The suspect is still at large and is said to have fled the scene at a high rate of speed in a light-colored sedan. The victim was transported to the hospital. He underwent surgery and he's in critical condition again. So we'll see if he improves. Hopefully he does improve. You can read more about the story at mantecabulletin.com. And of course, anyone with information regarding this case is encouraged to contact the Manteca Police Department.
That's great because, well, I mean, it's not great, but I honestly thought that he had died the whole time until you got to the very end and told me that. So Hope he gets better. That's so sad.
Imagine that, though. You walk outside maybe to grab a backpack out of your car. There's somebody there breaking into it, and then you get shot. I mean, talk about an unfortunate circumstance and surprise.
Scum people stealing and shooting. Anyway, more scum people selling drugs and having illegal weapons in Turlock. Going on to our next headline. This was written by Christina Hacker of the Turlock Journal. Illegal weapons and evidence of drug sales found at Turlock home. Turlock Special Investigations Unit took a suspected drug dealer off the streets and confiscated an illegal assault rifle and short barrel shotgun. The Turlock Police Department's SIU, that's what I'm going to call it because I don't want to say that. It's very long to say, served a search warrant on April 12th in the 300 block of Minaret Avenue. The warrant was obtained as a result of an investigation into suspected drug sales taking place at the residence. During a search of the home, investigators found a small amount of narcotics, an illegal assault rifle, an illegal short barrel shotgun, and a .25 caliber pistol inside a room belonging to 34-year-old Albert Glancy. In addition to these items, evidence of drug sales was located within the room. Glancy, he's a previously convicted felon, but he wasn't at home during the service of the warrant. He was later arrested without incident at a motel where an additional loaded firearm, 90 grams of suspected meth, and 3 grams of suspected heroin were found. Crazy story. You can read more about it, see the pictures at turlockjournal.com or in the print edition as usual.
Yeah, I guess you answered my questions right at the end there. I was going to say, what drugs? Is it marijuana, pills, meth, heroin? Turns out meth and heroin,
the worst of the worst.
The worst of the worst.
Yeah, don't do meth and heroin and don't sell it.
Don't, yeah. Please, as a PSA, I wish I had a little sound effect, like a doo-doo-doo. Now you know. Okay.
We should work on that.
Yeah, I am not a singer, guys. I apologize right now. I'll never do that again, I promise. We're moving on to the next headline. We're still in the crime block. Robbery suspect apprehended in night of holdups. This written by Jeff Benziger. A Modesto man was arrested at 2:40 a.m. on Monday morning as he attempted to rob an AM/PM at 2507 9th Street in Ceres in what would have been his third robbery of the night. 20-year-old Dallas Marquette Amaya was first brought to the attention of police when the 7-Eleven at 1305 Herndon Avenue reported a robbery by a Latino male who was wearing sunglasses and a gray hoodie and brandished what seemed to be a gun under a red cloth. Now, this description sparked the brains of the police officers who heard it because it was very similar to another robbery that had just taken place in Modesto moments before, and that led police to stake out surrounding convenience stores. When Amaya was arrested at gunpoint, he was found with a red cloth, $584 worth of cash in bundles, and an aerosol bottle of sanitizer in his pocket. And guess what? That bottle of sanitizer was what he pretended was a gun during the robberies. Very brazen of this guy. Amaya was arrested and booked for felony armed robbery, attempted robbery, and probation violation. And if people are wondering why was he charged for felony armed robbery if all he had was hand sanitizer? Well, if you pretend you have a gun and the person you're robbing believes you have a gun, well, guess what? That's armed robbery. So you can read more about this, the motivation behind the robberies, and what Amaya was on probation for if you visit SeriesCourier.com.
Nice.
Very nice. And that's the end of the crime block. So you know what that means?
Sports Blast.
Sports Blast.
That sounded just like Eddie.
Well, hey, let's get the real deal right now for the 209 Sports Blast.
Awesome. Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Frankie and Angie, hey, you guys are pretty good at doing that Sports Blast thing, man. I'm pretty jealous. I thought I had an okay voice. You guys are on point. But let's jump into sports, guys. So we're starting off with the Manteca Bulletin. All right. So this story is by Vince Rembilot from the Manteca Bulletin, published April 19th at 2:01 in the morning. That's early. That's usually when I get off work. But check this out. So Kevin Breaker nearly became the coach that got away. Why? Well, the Stockton product with a long history of coaching football to area youngsters was having second thoughts of returning to the game of his passion, having previously applied for the vacancy at Western Ranch High, which is in the Manteca Unified District. Breaker, retired corrections officer, great job, by the way, was having second thoughts going so far as to come onto the campus and meet with athletic director Jason Furtado about his intention. I was going to turn down the job, he said on Wednesday, but what Breaker found in talking to Furtado was the ideal situation with the struggling Cougars. And he said, for me, this is a dream. They needed someone who was interested in building a program. All right? So you can check out the rest of the story at MantecaBulletin.com. I actually kind of want to read the rest of it. It's really interesting, but I'm going to tease it right there. All right, guys. So from there, we move on to the Oakdale Leader. And then this is huge because I was talking to Frankie afterwards, and he's huge on boxing, by the way. Frankie knows a lot more about boxing than I do. I like boxing too, though. But check this out. The Junior Olympics is happening in the 209. Point blank, plain and simple, and it's this weekend. It's so cool. So essentially, Oakdale High School will be the venue for the 2018 Central California Association LBC 46 USA Boxing Junior Olympics. It's a mouthful, I know. But it's going to be happening tomorrow, Saturday, April 21st through Sunday, so the 22nd. So this day, or these next 2 days, is going to be crazy. So if you're in the 209, if you're in California, if you're in the area, if you like boxing, make your way to Oakdale. It's going to be super cool. It'll also be the first time that the Boxing Junior Olympics will be held in the 209 area code, and boxing fans can thank the folks at the Boxing Development Center in Oakdale for that one. So check it out. There's a story at 209 Magazine. Obviously, you can check that out right now. It's in stands all over. And then you can check out oakdaleleader.com. I know Dennis does a great job with that. It's awesome. All right. And then from there, we move on to the Series Courier, written by Dale Butler III, published on April 18th, 8:57 a.m. That is so early. Dale is awesome. He works random hours, and I know we've talked about it before, Frankie. He texts us, and we talk at like random hours, man. He'll talk to us like 2 or 6 in the morning. I don't know what he's doing. But anyways, check out this story. Series highs, varsity boys and girls track and field teams both remained in a first-place tie atop the Western Athletic Conference dual meet standings after sweeping visiting Patterson. And then the head coach, Brett Johnson, said this: to beat a team like Patterson is exciting. Why? Well, that's a pretty good program, man. They always have solid kids each year, and I think he meant that for every sport, not just track and field. It's a very good program, especially for their division. It's a lower division. They have less kids, than bigger schools like D1, Turlock, and Pittman, but still very good program. So Series High's boys team improved to 2-0 in the WAC after defeating Patterson. The score was 78-58 on April 11th at Bulldog Stadium. And the Tigers, they suffered their first loss, but check out the rest of this story at seriescourier.com. Obviously, Dale does a great job keeping up to date with the entire sports community in Series. And then from there, we go on to the Turlock Journal, and we're talking baseball. I mean, obviously, a lot of sports are doing very good. You know that in the spring. They do very, very good. But we're talking baseball. We're talking TC Baseball, Turlock High, and even Pittman. So essentially, combined at this moment right now, before they play this Friday, April 20th, they only have one loss combined. All three. How about that? Take that into consideration. Pretty good baseball, man. Just saying, they could probably beat my alma mater. I mean, they're definitely better than Salinas High. I'm just saying. Objectively speaking, it's really cool I get to cover them, though. And people from this area, man, you should be really glad and happy and excited that you get to watch good baseball like that. Or not good. This is a pretty great baseball when you talk about the levels that they're at. So TC beat Elliott Christian, actually, in a doubleheader. The first game was 14-4 Mercy Rule decision. But then the next game, which was back-to-back on Tuesday, and I was there. It was a 6-4 loss because essentially EC's Nick Figueroa dominated the game. The guy ended up pitching a complete game. He allowed only like one earned run, scored half their runs. Technically, he kind of beat TC on their own, and head coach Bill York kind of said that too. He's like, yeah, that kid's the best player on the team, hands down. And then take a look at Turlock High. Same record as TC, by the way. They're both 14-2 overall, and Turlock High hasn't lost in league, though, and they're playing today against Golden Valley. Golden Valley, they barely lost them by a run, and I believe this was on Wednesday, so it was an extra inning game. Who knows what's going to happen tonight? So if you're guys in Golden Valley, go check out this Turlock game. That Turlock team right now, they have over half a dozen collegiate prospects, hands down. At least like 2 or 3 are already signed. It's just crazy. That's how good they are. I'm not hyping them up, all right? That's just how good they are on paper. So check them out. And obviously you can check out the stories at turlockjournal.com. There's TC Baseball and Turlock High, and then I'll be out at Pittman very soon as well. And then we end this with one of my favorite sports, and Frankie's as well, obviously, mixed martial arts. It's one of the coolest sports. It's one of the fastest growing sports, I think, honestly, hands down. And there's going to be a 5150 fight night that's what it is, on May 19th, 2018. It's going to be at Livingston, so check it out. It's going to be at the Fitness Center. And I mean, this is going to be exciting, man. If you're in the area and you like MMA, this is literally the next step to getting to those big promotions. So who knows how many of these guys will honestly be moving on? We don't know, but there's definitely going to be some. I'm assuming that it might move on to promotions kind of like Bellator, UFC. You never know. I'm just saying it's all up there in the air, and these guys are talented for sure. So check that out. It's going to be exciting, and I'm already looking forward to next week, man, talking some more sports blast. So all right, guys, that's it. Back to Frankie and Angie.
All right, Eddie, thank you. In depth as always. Now we get ready for the main stories of the day. If this podcast is lunch, we're getting ready for the big sandwich of it all. And we're starting. Okay, I need to work on my analogies. So I need to work on my analogies and my singing. I apologize again. Anyway, this headline comes from the Manteca Bulletin, written by Jason Campbell. Police arrest a 14-year-old Manteca girl for Snapchat threat. A 14-year-old girl has been arrested by Manteca police after posting threats that she was going to commit violent acts at Manteca High campus. The Manteca Police School Resource Officer at Manteca High was notified around 2:20 p.m. on Tuesday that a student had found a threat of school violence against the campus on a social networking site called Snapchat. You might be familiar with it. After snapshots were provided, the Manteca police were able to learn that the threat came from a 14-year-old female Manteca High student. The minor, whose name is not being released because of her age, was arrested for making felony criminal threats and booked into the San Joaquin Juvenile Justice Center in French Cap. And although she said that the post was a joke and that she never intended to harm anybody, the Manteca police are still seeking prosecution.
When contacted by local authorities, the San Joaquin County District Attorney's Office advised that they make it a priority to seek prosecution on all cases involving school violence and threats of school violence.
It's probably pretty smart.
Yeah. The social media posting and subsequent arrest came less than a month after a rumor of school violence led to increased police presence at East Union, Manteca, and Sierra high schools. So bad timing, girl. Yeah, you're going to get in deep trouble. I mean,
you can't play around like that anymore.
Yeah, it's taken seriously. This shows that Manteca specifically is taking it very seriously, especially when they've received threats in the past. So they issued a statement on City of Manteca's local government Facebook account on Wednesday morning, informing the public of what transpired the day before. A post that generated more than 150 shares, dozens of comments, and almost 300 reactions from people who came across the notification.
That is a surefire way to get a lot of interaction online because people are still fresh with a lot of the tragedies that have happened in this country. You know, since the school shooting in Parkland, Florida, for example, probably the most recent one that I can think of, led to the 17 deaths of students in February, local law enforcement agencies have made a handful of arrests of local students that have threatened similar actions on their respective campuses. Several students from Venture Academy in Stockton were arrested in the weeks following the campus massacre in Florida. And late last month, 3 Weston Ranch teens posted multiple messages on social media that claimed that they would shoot up the school and wouldn't stop until they saw, quote, bodies on the floor, unquote.
Apparently, after that first threat was posted to social media on March 20th, investigators learned that a second threat was posted in a similar fashion the following day. They were eventually able to identify a 14-year-old Weston Ranch high school student as the perpetrator of the initial threat. Detectives were then able to identify a 15-year-old former Weston Ranch high school student, as well as a 14-year-old One Ambition Manteca student that had made the second threat. All 3 suspects were taken into custody at their homes and booked at the San Joaquin County Juvenile Justice Center. A search of each of the residences turned up no weapons, luckily, and no weapons were found in the homes of the Venture Academy students who were arrested either.
Now we have another in-depth story. This one is about, apartment fires in Manteca. One fire to be exact, but it was a big one. A 4-alarm fire destroyed a third of the 164 apartment units being built at Atherton Drive and Van Ryn Avenue on Sunday morning, making it the most destructive fire in Manteca history. For those of you who don't want to do the math, 1/3 equals roughly 54 units. And if you're wondering how much money this fire is expected to cost, well, that number will likely reach the millions. Now, 45 firefighters responded from fire departments in Tracy, Manteca, Lathrop, and Ripon, and they battled flames that leapt as high as 50 feet. At the time of the fire, Manteca Fire Chief Kyle Shippard said the fire was suspicious in origin. Well, the Manteca Bulletin just released another article that confirms the fire was indeed set intentionally. Investigators found evidence of an accelerant that they believe started the blaze and left dimples in the concrete. It is believed that the fire was started on the ground floor of the first unit, backing up to the 120 bypass. Unfortunately for investigators, the fire was so intense that the lab they use will probably not be able to determine what element was used to ignite the flames. Other than the discovery that the fire was intentionally set, there are not many leads as to who or why at the moment. However, prior to the groundbreaking of the construction site and after construction had begun, homeless in the area routinely set up illegal camps in the Caltrains right away along the 120 bypass near the construction site. Now, there is some speculation that the fire may have begun as a warming fire for homeless in the area, but that is just pure speculation at this point. And of course, you can find that at mantecabulletin.com, and any updates will be posted at mantecabulletin.com, and also you can find them in the print edition. But again, as this like the last headline, this headline brought up a lot of online engagement on Facebook and Instagram. And Angelina, I believe you have some comments you want to share.
Yeah, there were lots of shares of this specifically. People really wanted to share this blaze because you could see it for miles. So I'm sure a lot of people wanted to let their other community members know what exactly it was. But some comments, Amber Boswell Freitas shared a picture that she took from the freeway driving by. She said it was so hot we could feel the heat from inside our car on the 120. So that fire was so big that people could feel the heat radiating in their car.
That's pretty intense. Yeah, it gives you a little glimpse into firefighters' lives, right? People are always like, oh man, that looks hard. But if you haven't been by a fire in close proximity, you don't really know what it's like. So I can only imagine what that huge structural fire would feel like being anywhere near it. Yeah.
And Brenda Randolph, she commented on the story that recently stated, the kids who were responsible for this or, whatever they think happened. And she wonders if it's the same kids that did the $180,000 worth of vandalism to the brand new homes in the area. So Manteca's got some vandalism problems, it looks like.
There's a lot of vandalism all over the Central Valley. There was the vandalism in Turlock at the Vista Apartments.
Yeah.
That was pretty bad. And then there's a lot of fires in Turlock, too. Trees at parks and other places have just been lit up all over the place. So I wonder if there's just a lot of people, Manteca to Turlock, doing similar things. Or maybe it's one perpetrator or one group of perpetrators.
Yeah, could
Put on
be.
the tinfoil hats. Let's get the conspiracies going.
I love a conspiracy.
Who doesn't? That's it for the episode. 2-Night Headlines is done for the week. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. As always, please find us on our platforms, SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube. Subscribe, follow us. You can also find us on Facebook at 2-Night Headlines, and of course at 2nightheadlines.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the newspapers. We've got the Turlock Journal, Oakdale Leader, Manteca Bulletin, Sirius Courier, Riverbank News, and Escalon Times. And of course, don't forget about our other 209 products, Studio 209, we mentioned that earlier, and 209 Magazine. Our graphic designer, Harold George, is busy getting ready for the next magazine to be released, so you don't want to miss that. Now, I'm all out of breath, and I'm all out of headlines. So that's it for this episode. I'm Frankie Tovar.
I'm Angelina Martin.
Have a good day.